Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unlocking what honestly might be the ultimate cheat code for navigating that really messy, anxious transition between childhood and adulthood. We're diving headfirst into Friedrich Nietzsche's totally strange, poetic, and fiercely rebellious epic, Thus Spoke Zarathustra. Let's get right into it because, look, this isn't your standard dry academic philosophy. No, this is literally a survival guide for your mind.
So ask yourself, are you just following the herd? I mean, think about your daily life for a second. The endless doom scrolling, the crazy overwhelming pressure to conform to whatever influencers or your peers say is cool, and just that creeping, heavy anxiety about whether anything you actually do matters. It is exhausting, right? We so often find ourselves frustrated by rules and expectations that just feel completely fake. Well, Nietzsche actually felt that exact same frustration over a century ago, and he wrote this book specifically to challenge us to stop blindly following society's script.
Section 1. Meeting Zarathustra, a rebellious philosopher.
Now, to deliver this incredibly rebellious message, Nietzsche created a legendary character. Meet Zarathustra. He's actually based on the ancient Persian prophet Zoroaster, who historically taught that the world was this strict black and white battleground of absolute good versus absolute evil. But Nietzsche completely flips the script. His version of Zarathustra comes down from 10 years of pure solitude on a mountain with a really radical mission: to cure a massive historical crisis. You've probably heard that famous phrase, God is dead. Well, Nietzsche wasn't just being edgy there. He was pointing out that as society moved away from religion, we kind of lost our shared moral compass. And the terrifying result of that? Nihilism. It's that paralyzing belief that nothing matters, objective truth doesn't exist, and life is completely pointless. So, Zarathustra's entire journey is about finding a cure for this nihilism, because if the universe isn't handing us a ready-made meaning, well, we have to create it ourselves.
Section 2. How the Mind Grows Up, the Three Metamorphoses.
Okay, so how exactly do we create our own meaning? Zarathustra uses this absolutely brilliant metaphor to map out the psychological journey of growing up and achieving true independence. Step 1 is the camel. The camel kneels down and says, "Load me up. I must." This is that phase when we just follow the rules, we study hard, and we carry all the heavy expectations of our parents and society. Now, it does build discipline, but if you stay a camel too long, you'll be crushed. So you have to transform into step 2, the lion. The lion craves freedom. It fights this giant dragon covered in golden scales called Thou Shalt. The lion's whole vibe is rebellion. It just roars, "I will." But here's the catch. While a lion can destroy old rules, it actually can't create new ones. For that, we need the final step, the child. The child represents a total fresh start, innocence, and play. The child simply says yes, creating brand new values and authentic goals out of pure, unadulterated creative energy.
Section 3. Overman versus Last Man. Choose your path.
Once you actually reach that stage of the child, you realize something huge. There is no cosmic script. Humanity desperately needs a new goal to aim for. So Zarathustra presents us with a crossroads, basically offering two starkly contrasting paths for our future. On one side, we have the Übermensch, or the Overman. Now, this is not some sci-fi mutant. This is the ultimate self-creator. It's a person who completely overcomes their fears, outright refuses to follow the herd, embraces the messy struggle of growth, and literally treats their life like a piece of art. Then, on the complete opposite end of the spectrum is the last man. This is the absolute lowest goal. The last man is basically the ultimate couch potato of the soul. This is a person who avoids all risk, runs away from anything hard, and really just wants to be perfectly comfortable. They're seeking only cheap, blinking happiness as a totally passive consumer.
Now, to become that Übermensch, you have to tap into what Nietzsche calls the will to power. And all right, we need to clear up a massive historical misunderstanding right now. This concept is absolutely not about bullying or dominating other people. In fact, Nietzsche thought that was a glaring sign of weakness. True will to power is all about the joy of self-mastery. It's that fierce inner drive that pushes you to learn a really difficult subject or master a super tough sport. It's the thrill of overcoming resistance and realizing, wow, I am actually stronger today than I was yesterday.
Section 4. Escaping Social Media Flies. Translating the Speeches. So Zarathustra actually tries to preach this whole vision to a crowd in a town called the Motley Cow, right before a tightrope walker performs. But they just laugh at him. They literally cheer for the comfortable mediocrity of the last man. Realizing he can't teach the herd, he completely pivots. He starts delivering these incredibly sharp, targeted speeches to individuals who are actually willing to break free. And it is wild how accurately this 19th century philosopher predicted our 21st century traps. Zarathustra mocks the academic chairs, which today is honestly exactly like doing community service just to pad your resume so you look good. He calls out the afterworld men, which is the ultimate escapism, like ignoring your real life to live entirely in a VR headset. He fiercely defends the physical body against those who despise it, reminding us you cannot neglect your mental and physical health. And my absolute favorite, the tree on the mountainside. He points out that the higher a tree reaches for the light, the deeper its roots must dig down into the dark dirt. Meaning, if you want to learn a hard skill and really grow, you literally cannot avoid the pain of the struggle.
But perhaps his most urgent warning is about the flies of the marketplace. He warns his disciples, saying, "Flee, my friend, into your solitude. I see you dazed by the noise of the great men and stung by the stings of the little ones." Think about it. In our world today, the marketplace is absolutely social media. The poisonous flies are the algorithms, the toxic comments, the influencers peddling fake drama. Zarathustra is straight up telling us that if you obsess over public opinion, you will lose your mind trying to please people who don't actually care about you. Flee into your solitude. Literally, put your phone on Do Not Disturb so you can actually hear your own thoughts.
Section 5. Facing the Abyss, the Dark Night of the Soul. But here's the thing. Solitude isn't always easy. In fact, it's usually where we face our absolute toughest battles. Just like that tree on the mountainside reaching for the light, Zarathustra has to dig deep into his own dark, painful roots. During this cold, icy sea voyage, Zarathustra experiences a very vivid, dreamlike vision. He is climbing a freezing mountain, and sitting heavily on his shoulders is this dark creature he calls the Dwarf of Gravity. This dwarf is just whispering pure cynicism, depression, and self-doubt right into his ear, constantly telling him he's going to fail. But then, Zarathustra stops. He realizes that the only way to beat this heavy, crushing despair is with pure, defiant courage. He declares that courage is the ultimate weapon, a weapon so incredibly strong it can even slay death itself. Then suddenly, the dream shifts to this wild landscape, and we get one of the most intense, visceral moments in the entire book. Zarathustra sees a young shepherd thrashing on the ground. A thick, heavy black snake has literally crawled into the shepherd's mouth while he slept and is biting deep into his throat, choking him. Zarathustra tries to pull the snake out, but it is completely stuck. In an absolute panic, Zarathustra screams at the boy, "Bite! Bite! Bite off its head!"
And he does. The shepherd bites down, spits out the snake's head, and leaps to his feet, completely transformed into this radiant, laughing being. Now, let's decode what this totally bizarre and terrifying story actually means. The black snake represents the ultimate horror of nihilism. It's that paralyzing despair that life's suffering might just be a pointless, endless loop. And if you let that thought sit in your throat, it will absolutely choke you. Biting the head off, that is the ultimate act of courage. It's actively choosing to embrace life completely, the good and the bad, including all the pain and the struggle. When you do that, you overcome the despair and you transform into that radiant, free Übermensch.
Section 6. The Ultimate Vibe Check. The Eternal Recurrence.
This brings us to the climax of the explainer, and what is honestly the most terrifying yet liberating thought experiment in all of Nietzsche's philosophy. It is the ultimate vibe check for your life. Okay, imagine a demon sneaks into your room tonight and whispers this to you, that you will have to live every single moment of your life, every joy, every really boring class, every terrible heartbreak, every mistake, over and over again, in the exact same sequence for eternity. How would you react? Would you just collapse and curse the demon? Or would you smile and say it's the most beautiful thing you've ever heard? This is what he calls the eternal recurrence, and it's a massive test of authenticity. Because if the idea of your life on an endless loop terrifies you, well, that is a glaring sign that you need to drastically change how you are living right now.
So what exactly is our modern survival blueprint based on Zarathustra's journey? Let's break down your key takeaways. First, stop chasing comfort. A life of pure comfort is basically just decay. Choose hard things and actively chase growth. Second, guard your attention from the poisonous flies of the marketplace. Seriously, step away from the social media noise. Third, don't get stuck as the angry, cynical lion. You have to move to the child phase. Start saying yes to your own curiosity and actually create your own path. And finally, use that eternal recurrence to audit your daily choices. Drop the fake expectations of the herd for good.
Look, there is no pre-made manual for your life. You have to be the author.
Please like and subscribe.